Hello, welcome to the channel. Today's deep dive unpacks betrayals, power plays, and family fault lines shaking Salem on Tuesday, October 14th, with Gabby blindsided, Theo stepping into the DiMera arena, and Belle fearing ominous signs about Marlena's health. Gabby's fury ignites. Tony DiMera's quiet pivot detonates Gabby Hernandez's expectations, as he walks back their arrangement and hands the corporate prize to someone else, triggering the kind of vengeance arc Gabby weaponizes better than anyone in Salem. She believed her intel gathering would earn the CEO chair once Titan maneuvering stabilized, only to learn the DiMera playbook still values bloodline consolidation over transactional loyalty, a sting that will likely push her into new alliances. Tony leveraged Gabby to spy and destabilize rivals, then undercut her with a replacement plan that keeps DiMera in DiMera hands. An all-too-familiar bait-and-switch that spotlights his long game. Fallout could be immediate. Expect Gabby to rally power brokers, think Philip and Xander, to flank Tony, redirect Titan leverage, and squeeze DiMera margins, positioning herself as the disruptor Salem's boardrooms deserve. Tony's calculated pivot. Tony's strategy is two-pronged. Secure DiMera's top seat and neutralize external claimants by elevating a family insider, thus choking off Gabby's pathway while cultivating future-proof leadership optics. By brokering a peace with Kiriaki's interests on Titan, Tony trims needless wars and recenters executive gravity back inside the DiMera orbit. The decision isn't merely about snubbing Gabby. It's a brand correction that signals DiMera runs DiMera, a message aimed at shareholders, enemies, and kin alike. This move also grants Tony a buffer against revenge plays. If Gabby hits back with Titan-aligned partners, he still holds home field advantage at DiMera, where legacy math often beats deal sheets. Theo's big leap. Theo Carver accepts a fateful invitation. Step into DiMera Enterprises with real authority and the implied weight of legacy. A choice that thrills the family power brokers and alarms his father, Abe. The pitch presents Theo as a fresh, steady hand, untangled from the CEO merry-go-round, whose calmer profile could stabilize operations and optics. Theo's entry feels like a generational reboot, the new ideas archetype poised to calm markets while signaling that DiMera's future won't be dictated by retreads and feuds alone. The risk is personal. Theo must navigate corporate gamesmanship without losing the moral compass Abe spent years instilling, especially as DiMera pressures can warp even the best intentions. Abe draws a line. Abe is rocked when Theo confirms plans to work for the DiMera Empire, a move that dredges up all his old fears about the family's corrosive pull and the cost to his son's character. He's proud of Theo's independence but haunted by history. The legal landmines, the boardroom betrayals, the relentless churn that leaves good people compromised. Expect Abe to push for safeguards, mentors, oversight, and bright-line rules to keep Theo grounded while he tests a new professional identity in a notoriously treacherous company. Even as Abe resists, he must reckon with Theo's adulthood. He can advise but not command, a tension that makes every boardroom win feel emotionally complicated. EJ's patience test. Susan Banks steps in as EJ's spiritual ballast, urging him to pause, breathe, and trust timing. Advice he rarely takes but sorely needs as personal and family pressures mount. Her guidance threads two needles at once. Let fate work in romance and step carefully around DiMera tempests where impulse can cost dearly. EJ's dilemma is classic. Act now to assert dominance or wait for cleaner openings that don't invite collateral damage, especially with Tony reshaping the chessboard. Susan's counsel suggests EJ's best move is restraint. Watch the ripples around Gabby and Theo before committing to a path that might backfire. Belle's rising alarm. Belle's radar pings over Marlena, whose recent symptoms and emotional strain suggest more than grief, prompting Belle to press for specialist-level scrutiny before a silent crisis escalates. She's seen Marlena tough out storms, but recurring episodes and unsettling dreams signal a pattern that demands medical escalation, not platitudes. Belle weighing options like top-tier clinics and multi-doctor consults underscores her shift from worried daughter to decisive advocate, determined to chase answers beyond Salem's routine care. The emotional load is heavy, juggling her own life, EJ's mixed signals, and Marlena's fragility. But Belle's discipline under pressure is exactly what Marlena needs now. Xander's apology with a catch. Xander reaches for humility, offering Sarah an apology and a promise to prioritize her over the grind. An olive branch that could reboot their fragile reconciliation. Yet the foundation is brittle. His hidden role in Philip's attack remains a live wire, and secrets like that don't just test trust. They obliterate it when revealed. The apology frames Xander as penitent, but the concealed truth tracks toward a second implosion. The kind that convinces Sarah the cycle can't be fixed by romance alone. If Gabby aligns with Philip and Xander against Tony, Xander's need to keep his skeletons buried may collide with strategic exposure, imperiling both his love life and his leverage. Power map. Likely next moves. Salem's corporate and personal chessboards are merging. Gabi's revenge vector, Theo's ascent, Tony's consolidation, EJ's restraint, Belle's advocacy, and Xander's fragile reform are converging into a volatile week. The balance of power hinges on whether Gabby can build a fast, credible coalition, and whether Theo's calm can withstand both Abe's pressure and Gabi's counterpunch. Watch for Gabby to weaponize Titan goodwill and public sentiment against Demare opacity, setting narrative traps that force Tony to defend his process, not just his outcome. If Theo secures early wins, stability messaging, clean governance gestures, he could blunt Gabi's attacks and reassure Abe, buying time to define his leadership before the knives come out. Part 2. Days of Our Lives Recap, Monday, October 13th, 2025. Rachel's lessons in mischief, Marlena's guidance, and Chad's heart in turmoil. The Monday episode of Days of Our Lives opened with tension, reflection, and the familiar undercurrent of mischief that Salem fans have come to expect. Emotions ran high as Rachel found herself trying to make amends. Thomas wrestled with his father's complicated love life, and Marlena once again became the quiet, grounding presence that the rest of the town so desperately needs. What seemed like a simple apology soon spiraled into something much deeper. A moment that hinted at manipulation, heartbreak, and the unhealed wounds that still shape the Horton family. Rachel's apology and her hidden agenda. The day began with Marlena arriving just in time to prevent another confrontation. Jennifer, visibly on edge and quick to assign blame, was ready to lash out again when Marlena stepped in, calm, reassuring, and ready to mediate as only she can. By her side stood Rachel, looking small, chastened, and seemingly ready to make amends. Rachel's apology to Thomas appeared sincere. She said all the right things, her tone soft, her eyes glistening with just the right touch of remorse. Chad accepted the apology graciously, perhaps relieved to see even a flicker of peace between the two young ones. But underneath that sweet exterior, long-time viewers could sense it. Rachel Brady is never entirely innocent. When Chad sent her upstairs to finish apologizing in private, Rachel wasted no time. She found Thomas in his room, sitting quietly, shoulders heavy with disappointment. Though he claimed to be fine, it was clear that his heart was hurting, not because of Rachel, but because of his father. Chad's relationship with Kat had ended, and Thomas, who had grown fond of her, was struggling to understand why adults so often let love slip away. A strange bond forms. When Rachel entered the room, something shifted. The energy between her and Thomas was unexpectedly charged. Not romantic, of course, but intense in its own youthful way. They sat side by side on the edge of his bed, their silence filled with a mixture of curiosity and complicity. Rachel's voice broke the quiet. "Oh, good. Now just make sure they don't break up again," she said with a strange authority that startled Thomas. Her comment hung in the air, half teasing, half serious. Thomas blinked, confused by her tone. How could he make sure of anything? He was just a kid. But Rachel wasn't finished. With a knowing smirk, she began recounting her own experience in the art of sabotage. She reminded Thomas, perhaps a little too proudly, of the times she had meddled in her father Brady's relationships. Chloe, Ava. She had found ways to ruin them all one way or another. "It's not that hard," she said with a shrug. "Sometimes you just have to make sure the wrong person leaves." It was an eerie moment. Viewers could almost see the wheels turning in Thomas's mind as he listened. Rachel, whether she realized it or not, was planting a dangerous seed, a sense of control, of manipulation disguised as loyalty. And as the two exchanged a final look, the audience was left to wonder. Was Rachel grooming a new partner in mischief? Marlena offers comfort and a warning. Downstairs, the storm continued to brew. Jennifer, after making a few polite comments to Marlena, left the room, but not without one last cutting glare in Chad's direction. Her disapproval of Kat, Chad's new love interest, was written all over her face. Chad sank onto the Horton family couch, visibly torn between his heart and his family's expectations. Marlena, ever the voice of reason, poured herself a cup of tea and sat beside him. Her quiet presence had always been a balm for the troubled souls of Salem. Sometimes, she told him gently, love doesn't come in the package our families want. But if it's real, if it's true, that's all that matters. Chad admitted how deeply he had fallen for Kat. His eyes softened when he spoke of her, his voice laced with longing. But his tone shifted when he described how his family had turned against him for it. How Jennifer's constant judgment and Thomas's confusion had left him feeling trapped. Marlena listened, never interrupting, letting Chad pour his heart out in the safety of her understanding. Rachel's report and her true colors. Just as Marlena's words were starting to ease the tension, Rachel reappeared. She cheerfully announced that her apology went really well. Chad smiled, relieved that at least one thing had gone smoothly today. But viewers saw what he did not, the gleam of mischief in Rachel's eyes. Her words might have been innocent, but her intentions clearly were not. Rachel Brady has learned too much from her past escapades to ever truly let go of manipulation. Marlena, ever perceptive, watched her carefully but said nothing. Perhaps she sensed that Rachel's so-called remorse was little more than performance. Perhaps she was waiting for the right moment to step in. "Why don't we get you home?" she suggested softly, guiding Rachel toward the door. "You've had a long day." Rachel followed, still smiling to herself. Brady's distraction and the calm before the next storm. Meanwhile, Brady was nowhere near aware of the subtle drama his daughter was stirring up. He was far too preoccupied with Tate, who was dealing with his own heartbreak and confusion. That left Rachel free to act as she pleased. A dangerous situation for a young girl whose sense of morality has always been flexible. As Marlena left with Rachel, Chad remained on the couch, staring into space. The house was quiet again, but his mind was far from still. Between Jennifer's coldness, Thomas's sadness, and Kat's absence, he felt utterly alone. Marlena's tea sat forgotten on the coffee table, the steam fading like the hope that had briefly flickered in his heart. A closing reflection. The episode ended on a somber yet suspenseful note. Marlena's gentle wisdom lingered in the air. Rachel's sly grin hinted at more chaos to come. And Chad's heartache reminded viewers that love in Salem is never simple. Thomas, caught in the crossfire of adult mistakes, now found himself under the influence of Rachel. A girl who believes that controlling love is the same as protecting it. For longtime Days of Our Lives fans, Monday's episode was a perfect blend of nostalgia and foreshadowing. It evoked memories of past schemes and heartbreaks, all while setting the stage for new conflicts. Rachel's lesson to Thomas may have seemed innocent on the surface, but her words carried an echo of Salem's oldest truth. Once manipulation begins, it never truly ends. And as the Horton home grew quiet under the evening light, one couldn't help but wonder, has Rachel just recruited a new co-conspirator in Thomas? Or has she unknowingly awakened something far darker in him? Either way, the game has begun again.